Hi, I would like in this brief video to introduce how to debug Jupyter notebooks. And the way I debug Jupyter notebooks is convert them to something else because Jupyter is very bad for debugging. So I'm going to take as an example this notebook here, which I have in my Google Drive. I go here to convert this to a Python file that I can open in Spider. I go to File, and I go to Download, and then download.py. Okay, so that will download as a .py file. Let me open up the file that I downloaded. I have it here. All right. Sorry, I should say that I open up my Spider, which is also an Anaconda. To open Spider, you can just go to SPY. And if you have Anaconda installed, it will go directly to Spider. Then in Spider, you can open the file that you downloaded. So I have that here. Now, if I try to run this, so you can see that this looks very similar. It has converted the text cells into comments, but the code is the same. You can identify the code places, and they're nicely highlighted, so you can tell what is code, what is comments, what is variables, and so on. These are multi-line comments. These were originally text cells. And I can run this as is. Now, if I run it, if you've used Spider before, you'll see that this is where the code appears and this is where the output appears. It's different from Jupyter, where you have the code and the output appears below. If you're not familiar with Spider also, you can see your variables here. It's very nice. You can see them. Now, when I run this, I get df is not defined. Now, if you remember this notebook, which I can open in my Jupyter, if I open this notebook in my Jupyter, you can see that there was a df, and I used this store command to recover df. Now, unfortunately, store does not work in Python. It only works in Jupyter notebooks. That's really too bad. So in order to transfer data from Jupyter notebooks to Python, you need to use something else, and there's something called pickle, and I can look for that. Now I found this reference, which is quite nice. I look for "Don't fear the pickle." I have it there already. Don't fear the pickle. Look for this reference, and it says using pickle dump and pickle load. It's not about this pickle phobia. I haven't looked at that YouTube video. It looks kind of interesting. But you go here, and you can see how to use pickle. Right. So if I want to pickle a set of data, it gives a very good indication here. Now you just need to understand what's going on here. If I want to save objects from my Jupyter notebook, I can copy this, paste into my Jupyter notebook. Let's see, I'll just insert another cell after this. I'll paste this. Now try to understand what's going on here. I guess you can only understand if it looks bigger. Let's see. So let's go down and see it. Now, here what it's saying is pickle dump is obviously dumping your data somewhere. And it looks like it's dumping your data into this file, okay? So what you have to do is put a file name here, and I can call this, for instance, I can call this data, okay? And I set that as F, and that's my target, okay? WB turns out to mean write and something else. These are permissions. I'm not sure what this is. And I put pickle dump here. Now I want to dump both df and basestick. These are the two variables I want. So I can go here and I can say df basestick. And I should be able to run this cell, and it will run. Now I think this won't run now because if you remember, these stores were done in previous notebook. So you have to run the previous notebooks to get these stored. But once you have these stored and you can recover them, you can dump them in a pickle file. And this will be a file that shows up in your Windows Explorer. Let me see if I can see if you can see it here. Actually, here it's called data file. Okay, so here's a pickle file, and you can see it has stuff in there. All right, so that was the result of this. Instead of this data, I'll call this data file. Okay. All right, so if I execute this command, that will create this data file that you see there. I guess I closed it, but you saw the data file. It will create that file. And then you can read that in your Spider notebook. And I put the read commands here also. So I commented them here, but I put them previously. I can uncomment this. You would have to put this in. These commands you can find also in that same web page that I showed before. Don't fear the pickle. Where is that? It's right here. It gives the, so here you can see it's very similar. You open the file name. The RB means you have a read permission, and you open as F, and then then this recovers your data that's stored in there. So if you look at what I did here, you remember that what I stored was a list of data, DF and base-dict. Right? So this recovery will give me a list. It will give me a Python list. So to recover the individual items in the list, I just need to list them in the right order. And this will unpack this data, which is a list, into these separate variables. Okay. Now I should be able to uncomment this and run it. Go here, edit, and uncomment. Okay. And then I should be able to run this. Let's see, I'm not sure why it's not working. Now, just to show you how to deal with issues like this, you should go ahead and Google the error message, which I did. So I went here, and then here you can see it says can't get attribute unpickle block. And if you look down, you can see that the reason that it didn't work was that I pickled with one version of pandas, unpickled with a different version of pandas. Pickle is a function within pandas. So I need to upgrade my pickle in the machine that I'm using here. I'm going to go ahead and do that according to this specification, and then I'll try again. Now here they say do the install with pip, but since we're in Anaconda, it's better, I think, to use conda to install. And you can go through some different documentation about how to update pandas in Anaconda. So here is the install command for updating pandas. But before updating pandas, I should probably update my Anaconda. So I ended up doing several updates. I updated conda. You can see the command. Where did I put it? I put the command here, conda update conda. We went through and updated that. And then, so it did all this stuff. And I had to say yes to have it proceed. Then I updated Anaconda, and the same thing happened. I updated all this stuff. And then finally, when it did this, it told me to, so this took a while. I guess it's a while ago that I installed Anaconda on this. So a bunch of junk here. It takes a while. And it took, I think, maybe 10 minutes on my machine. It might take more or less on your machine. Then they recommended I install this, so I installed something else here. And then finally, I installed my conda install C Anaconda pandas. Finally got that done. Everything worked fine. And then I can close this. Then I would have to go back to my Spider, restart my kernel. And when I do that and run, I don't get the error messages anymore. I get some other error messages because there was some problems with the code. So let me just show you briefly how to do stuff with Spider to trace your code as it's running. So you can see here that here it says that this is not working, is not in index. So we can trace back where that comes from. You can see that it's in line 204. It was here. So I should be able to go there. Well, I'll just go to line 204. So if you hit one shortcut for here is you go to Control L and then it says 204. All right, so there's something wrong here. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a red dot here. This is called a breakpoint. Okay, so when I run this with the debugger, then the code will execute and stop here. Okay, so I can go like this and execute, and here it made it to line 204. And let's see, I can look and investigate what my variables are. All right, so here it tells me what f is. I think I can click here and it show me that f is a list of 2 elements. Okay, and x train, I can see what that is. That will appear also. I can click here and see what this is. Okay, all right. So here it says there's an error, but I think I can probably get it down here. Okay, you can see that it was probably too big to obtain from up here. Okay, I can see what the variables are. And let's see, let me continue. I can continue the execution by pressing this. So it seems like the first time through there was no problem. So it's doing something here. So it's down here. Now, when it reaches this point again, I will see a blue arrow. But it seems that so far there's nothing wrong. Okay, so continue, continue, continue. Now, I'm going to pause so you don't have to wait until it goes. All right, it took a little while. You can kind of see an arrow here behind the red dot. Okay, so let me see what f is. My f now is what? F is a list. We can see what it is. It's these 2. And let's see. So let me continue again, see if it runs without error. I'll continue, and again I'll pause because, oh look, see, here it says this is not in an index. Okay, so there's something wrong with here. So it's not. So it looks like there's a mistake here. It looks like there's a spelling mistake, right? So that needs to be fixed. So we've kind of identified what the problem is. So the debugger buttons are these buttons up here. And as I said, for me, this is the best way to find out what's wrong with your code, especially if you have a large code like this. So after we've done so far with Jupyter Notebook, but eventually when you do real coding, you should probably graduate to Spider. The only advantage of Jupyter Notebook is that you can run it in Google Colab, which is a big advantage. But Spider is definitely superior when it comes to debugging. Okay, hopefully that's a little bit helpful.